As an artist and a somatic psychotherapist, I 100% believe that home and self are comprised of specific sensory experiences that shape what home means to us. However, I believe that the idea of home isn't just one that we shape in our minds based on these sensory experiences, but rather first exist as a felt sense that has become imprinted in our bodies. Because what is a sensory experience? It's one that was felt in our body first and foremost, which we then attempted to understand with our minds, if we choose to bring a conscious, mindful awareness to it.
My name is Akil. I'm from Pakistan. You can see who is the person, Khanabudo, who is carrying on his home on his shoulder. You know, no made. This is my hard things, so no economic necessity. Moving to carry on my shoulder, I am living with my passions. That's why I made a green sport city. I love with animals, love with nature, so I'm spreading to here green, makes London greener.
My name is Anastasia. I moved to London this year from Moscow, Russia. I guess it's the comfort that the surrounding brings to me. And by surrounding, I mean people who can visit me, like come to the place I live. And also it's about the comfort I get from the things surrounding me in my flat or the place I live at all.
My name is Jam.
My name is Gina.
Long trail of places that I've lived over time. So I started off in Southern California and lived there for 20 years pretty much, and then started my move abouts at that juncture.
I grew up in New York City, and we moved to London about 4.5 years ago.
Home is like hope. It's a hope for something. For me personally, I'm not going to speak for my wife, but for me personally, it's like a hope for something that I had at one point, but I still look for it and I'm still trying to recreate it.
Home to me is feeling like I'm in the right place. But I also know that people and places and everything else connected to that is fluid. That can all change. But the things that I find constant in terms of what I describe as home would be my husband, my cat, my books, art supplies, things that I can be creative, having access to a garden, but everything else is fluid.
I grew up in two life. When I was child, my mom family belong with village, and my parents they belong with. I grew up in town. My grandfather, he was migrate into town, but he took this lot of things. He made it one home for us. He loved with nature, so that's why I spend my too much time that side. My family is, they belong with agriculture, and they're growing some vegetables, or my grandmother, my mom, I helping for them in our garden. After that, I invite my friend, look my garden, how it's nice.
The only place I remember living in from like the youngest age is my parents' house in Moscow. I do remember like the warm tones and everything around is like so soft. It's like my most comfort zone because it's not like I'm doing anything to be comfortable around it like myself, but other people do that for me. If I'm ever getting like exhausted, that's the place I'm coming to first.
I grew up in New York City, so that was my home. In the wintertime, walking down Fifth Avenue and smelling roasted chestnuts, I loved that. And in the summertime, smelling pretzels from the pretzel carts.
To me, it's like the mowed lawns and all the yard work, things like that. The smell of something cooking in the background, or just the different smells of like how summer smelled to me. Like going swimming and the smell of like hitting the pool and just having that time with my friends. Growing up in Southern California was always the heat, the smell of that summer day, and when the rain would hit the ground and you would smell that transition between the driest parts of the ground and rain. It was like always that sensation of like, it's really interesting. It always smelled like everything had potential, for lack of a better word, just like anything was possible.
When I think of my childhood home, I think about food and my grandmother. She was from Munich, so Weisswurst and red cabbage and knödels. I remember, I must have been like 3, and she and my great-grandmother were making Kartoffelknödel, which is a potato dumpling, in this huge pot. And maybe it was just because I was 3 years old, everything seemed like enormous.
Our family is very respectable family, so that people come to our house, they mention with us, and it's our culture, you know. If you guys come here, you need to full respect and leave the outside the door. You go with by walk, you know.
Home kind of felt about survival because I lived in 2 very different households. So it was trying to find how to navigate that, which wasn't always easy. And I think what helped me through that is dance and making things. So, and that's how I kind of channeled all the kind of chaos and craziness that was going on. That also fostered a really deep sense of independence too.
The more I think about it, it's just a sense of imagination as a child where I can be anything. If I wanted to be a pro athlete, oh yeah, that's possible. One of my hobbies as a child was like photography too. And so when we had a Bolex 16 millimeter movie camera, so we were out shooting movies and creating this whole idea of like, wow, what if making up all these things and trying all these experiments. It was like with photography, painting a world of what was possible for myself and using imagination to really express that visual idea of what could happen. And I remember it was all about the dream, because when you're young and in that home, it's like, okay, this may not be the best thing in the world right now, but I can become the best at something. Is home sort of like the dream factory? No matter what home you grow up in, is that where you just determine who I'm going to be, who I am? And you think, okay, now I need to take the dream out of the home and recreate that and live that dream, or figure out how to like make that into something real. So we keep bringing childhood forward and creating new memories. And why? Because we want to keep sustaining some guaranteed experience, right? Like, oh, I remember how things were great when I was young. Let's do that again because we know it will be great. The things that we didn't like, we cut those out. And so we're creating a new edited version of what we think home should be.
In a sense, it's like meditation, you know. It's like feeling calm, relaxed. Actually, when it was a special events in my home or something in the outside, you know, that's why I love incense smell so much. My work inside of my Green Spot City, what I done it when I was child. So when I enter my room, I'm feeling very peace, calm. That's I'm spending my time here with my, sometimes checking water, with my plant. You know, actually, these are not plants. These are my friends. You know, it's my lonely time. These are my friends. I'm thinking they keep my secret all the time. I am sharing with them a lot of my secret talk, my heart talk.
I've had a humidor everywhere, you know, where we've lived. Cigar smoke filled the air when I was a kid. And I just remember my dad kind of opening up the humidor, and I'm like, oh, what's in there? I brought this one specifically from Washington State. It takes me back, makes me think about my father and my brother who also, he and I grew up very close together. And cigars are something we enjoyed together. And it was really fun. So it's a real nice sensory way for me to go back in time, but also look ahead in time and be present in time. There's some level of closing a loop.
So yeah, about the rings, this one was given from by my mom, and to her it was like a promise ring from my dad, and then she gave it to me, and this is quite like important to me because it's like the big thing for a connection, and I never like actually take it off except when I'm home or like going to showers. Then the second one, it was a present from my dad for like my birth, I guess. If they're gonna get lost, I'm gonna not feel comfortable here, because that would be like the worst thing to happen. This is what gives me comfort here, like in London itself.
Think about how much we drag with us into our lives every day. You think you're over your childhood, but it goes with you well into your 50s. You keep bringing all those things from your childhood, and had none of that happen, it would be just the clear canvas of like everything is amazing. It would be back to that idealism that I felt as a child. That idealism of everything's possible. Look at this. And yet there's this sense and this air of suppression because I know the past and I know not to get too invested. So I hold it back.
It's more about the clothes for me because I chose to do like fashion. It's more about like clothes in my life, as I like took some of my mom's clothes with me here. So yeah, it does remind me of my family, and like back to my hometown reminds me of my wardrobe there. The thing I like a lot about my closet is actually these shoes, which my mom, when she was like part-time modeling, she got these from the runway. And then when she got them, they didn't really fit her. So she thought that when she's gonna have a kid, a daughter, she's gonna give it to her. Well, now it's me. And the most symbolic part is that I got like the exact same size they are. So they fit me like perfectly, which is quite nice. And that reminds me of her like a lot.
I still play guitar today, and it's just something that ties me back to my youth. And the sound, my brother had an acoustic guitar. I'm like, hey, I'd like to learn how to play it. He goes, well, here, just figure it out. Here's a chord book. You can see you're on your own. So it was that, okay, I'll figure this out for myself. So it connects me back to that. There's a timelessness to playing the guitar. I can remember the stuff I used to play as a kid. And it just kind of brings me back. And so it is a way of, without even realizing it, recreating and closing some of those loops in my own life.
I want to go back in my childhood time. I'm at the farmhouse, sheep, goats. When it's London busy life gave me permission, so I learned more about this animal course. I'm making my own farm. So definitely it's my next target.
There's this thing that happens with everybody. At some point, your parents are no longer with you, and you become like an adult orphan. It's like I can't just call my mom, or I just can't call my dad anymore. And unfortunately, I've lost my brother, so there's many parts of my home that have dissipated away. It's now a memory, and I have to kind of recreate the memory or think about what's important. I can't go back to it. Well, do the children want to come back to our home? Do they want to come back here? And how do I keep recreating that and fostering that for them? But for ourselves, like, we have to keep looking ahead.
I really wanted to live on my own, like my whole life. And I think that that's the opportunity I was given, and I'm really enjoying it right now because actually I can buy things I like for the decoration, like at the moment. I just got something new for me, which is like the LED lamp, and it creates like the best atmosphere ever. Sometimes I do like some chill evenings where I turn on the LED lamp, turn on some music, and then I got this specific like sticks, which you just like aroma things, which you burn, and they create like the smoky thing, which looks fantastic, and they also smell really cool.
Is electric stove. Personally, I don't like this one because I like the woody fire. Life is very fast in London, and my stuff is slow. I want to cook so many food for my friend. I can't do it. So secondly, in that my fan is noising too much. I don't like this one in my kitchen. So this is my best friend Daryl tin. So as a respect, I keep with me inside my kitchen. There is so much things I learned from her, information, knowledge. So when she come to meet me, she was drinking here. So at that time, she left here in the table. I put inside here. I don't want to put inside there.
I have like two best friends from my hometown who came to London like to live here with me. They all rent a flat, so it's like 3 flats in London, one in Chelsea, one in Ansbridge, and one in Battersea. I guess it's like the extended area for like the home here, the comfortable zone.
When I grew up, there was always photos on the wall. There was always something to look at, but it was never really about the big moments in life. It was just more of like, oh, here's the milestones and things like people growing up. And it's interesting because like when we think about the photographs that we've collected here, they're also important people and animals in our lives. What's interesting is we don't have a single photograph in this house or an object from our childhood here.
No, we don't.
That's present. So there isn't anything from that distant definition and feeling of home that's here now. Remember I said it to you that one time? It was like almost like a shipwreck, right? And we gathered together all these supplies.
Right.
And then now we're like, okay, what do we have?
Right.
Let's build it. Let's figure out how to create this experience and this new sense of home.
Yep.
And if you sometimes think about your life as like the shipwreck, not that it's bad, but it's like, you crash land on an island, you got to start over. You got to build something new and you got to create something new.
I love ceramics because I used to be a potter, and I can really appreciate all of the time and work that goes into just making one piece. If I'm feeling a little fragile, I'll gravitate toward this one because it's porcelain and it's kind of a celadon glaze, and the base is very narrow, so it has a kind of tippy quality to it, which definitely reflects what I might be feeling in that moment and why I chose this mug. Every single one we got either here in London or in Oxford, right?
Yeah, but I never thought about taking the mugs or other objects out of this home.
Yeah.
Because it felt like that's where they belong.
One time I went with my friend in Scotland. I saw the views in morning time when was sunshine. So with the people come outside, it's, with sheep or with dogs. When I come back in London, so I'm really missing for that. I hopefully, if Green Spot City you will increase one day you visit outside London. I invite you people. I will meet with you with my sheep and that's my dog and that everything. Hopefully you like. It's my next plan. So when I get my retirement life, so I wanna live my life is with peace, not with too much rush. If my life give me permission, its life is short, my day.
You can take some things from the places you would miss, but there's so many things to acquire like in the world itself. For me, it would be like to try as most things as I can, and maybe in the end of my life or in the end of the journey, like traveling around, I would figure out what smells and tastes I would like to keep for the rest of my life.
This is our home. Love it for all it is. Make today your home, because what guarantees do we have about tomorrow or next week? So there's a lot here that felt familiar. Mm-hmm. Coming here felt like we've lived here before. And we're from a different country, so we're always dragging that forward, trying to figure out, okay, who are we here? And that's a big part of it. Who are we here?
To me, it's just this unfolding experience. We could stay in London, okay, we might move. As I get older, that sense of home is a feeling of existing within myself.